Mātauranga Session. I think must be number 12 now. And we are really fortunate to have Aaron Ward joining us all the way from America. It is the end of the day for him. So really grateful that Aaron's made the time to join us during our lunch break, but I think it's during his dinner time, maybe bedtime.
In the past, Katie, in the past, it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday night here. I'm in the past. Somebody tell me the lotto results.
Well, it's a beautiful day here. So yes, awesome. Thank you for joining us all the way from America, Aaron. And that's why we set up this kōrero, was to be able to get a perspective from Aaron about growing his business from Aotearoa, from a garage in Aotearoa, all the way over to where he is now. So really awesome to have Aaron Wood join us. So we'll kick it off with ko wai koe, no he koe.
Ora koutou, ko moe te maunga, ko wai o te awa, ko tikapa te moana, ko tainu i te waka, ko Ngāti Maru te iwi, ko Aaron Ward, toku ingoa, ko taku mahi ki us nicely, ko te tumu whakarai. Well, thank you, Katie. This is a treat. Yeah, to be part of this, and just a wonderful to hear some accents from home. You know, I talk to a lot of Americans nowadays. I've been living over here for 6 years now, and I've had to learn to enunciate and overpronounce my R's. But now I can get back into my Kiwi mumble again. So looking forward to the kōrero with you.
Awesome. And so the reason I reached out to you was because we actually attended the High Tech Awards last year, and we saw you come up on the stage. Lee was at my side, and Aaron from Blink Pay was there, and he just told us he kicked off the haka for you, haka tautoko for you. And so we were like, hey, this guy needs to be part of our hapori. He's doing amazing things. He's Māori and he's taking Māori to the world. He needs to be part of our hapori. So that's why I got in touch with you, Aaron. I'm really keen to know about, what led you to America. Tell us a bit about your background and how you ended up leading this amazing tech company, global tech company.
Well, goodness, it's tempting to look back and tell you, well, let me tell you about my strategic plan, which I wrote when I was 15. Of course, that's not the case. It is a drunkard's walk from there to here. And if I told you how it happened, I don't know that it would necessarily make sense. I guess just as brief background, I was born in Wanganui, but I grew up mostly in Auckland. My father was a panel beater, and when I was 15, I did School C, which dates me. I don't know. I think it's called NCEA nowadays. But I was the first in my family to sit it, not to pass it, but to sit it. And so I got phone calls from my aunties saying, I heard you did School C. And which means that for me, there weren't a lot of like role models in my family for like, what are the options from here? What do I do next? And my old man looked at my results, and some of them were good, some of them weren't, and he said, looks like you're good at math. So that probably means you need to be an accountant. And, because that was what he had seen in his life as a panel beater. And he'd seen some accountants and they had flash cars. And he said, well, maybe that means that, they deal with money, so maybe they can make a lot of money. And that's what you need to be. And so I went off and studied accountancy and tried to be an accountant. Wasn't a very good one, as it happens. It turned out to be pretty poor advice. Actually, but I don't hold it against my dad, because again, you can't be what you can't see, and that's all he had seen in his life. But it got me started, and again, it's a drunkard's walk. But I found myself in some early stage technology businesses that were out there trying to do things differently, and bring some invention and novelty into the markets they were in. And I got attracted into marketing and product roles, and and that's sort of what started off my I guess more entrepreneurial journey.
Awesome. And then somehow you found yourself in a garage building a technology with your co-founder, Can you tell me a bit about what Ask Nicely is and what that journey looked like for you?
Yeah, so Ask Nicely is we're a software business. We make software that helps service companies make every customer experience awesome. And so for us, like service companies, like we call them people-powered businesses. These are companies where it's the person who's delivering the experience to you that makes the difference between an experience that's awesome or awful. And so like in our customer base, like we have chains of dentists and chains of like vet clinics and dermatology businesses and folks that come around to your house and do work on your home. They're all people-powered businesses. And so what Ask Nicely does is we help get feedback from the customer into the hands of the frontline worker that actually served that customer. And what that means is they know that what they do matters, right? Because they're getting appreciation from the customer. And then ideally, they're getting recognition and reward from their leaders in the business for serving the customer right. It's those frontline people that we need to turn up every day, like focused and motivated to, to do a great job for every customer. And our software helps drive that and bring sort of meaning and sort of dignity to people on the front line.
Awesome. And it scaled pretty quickly, didn't it? So yeah, talk to me about where the idea came from and then how you went global.
Yeah, so before Ask Nicely, I spent a little bit of time in a local power company in Mercury Energy building new products for them. And at that time, Uber was taking off. And, businesses, like the energy sector, like airlines, like telcos always have a hard time with how do they improve their experience to customers. And I thought, well, how do we make feedback more of a real-time thing? And I looked at what Uber was doing, right? So when you book an Uber, you jump out of the car and you can immediately rate your ride. And that feedback goes directly to the driver such that they can improve the experience for the very next passenger. And I thought, well, goodness, there's a model there that can probably apply to any service company. So that was the insight for us. And so at that point, I resigned my corporate job, and I hooked up with a really talented software developer, John Ballinger, that I'd gotten to know, and said, "Hey, let's go and build a global software business." He says, "Sounds good. Come and move into the garden shed in my backyard here in Ponsonby." And that was how we started, with in a garden shed with an outhouse, and the two of us shared one desk. And we started with very humble beginnings, but with a big vision. And we took a lot of inspiration from businesses like Xero and Pushpay, which started here in New Zealand, but very much with global ambitions and brought a level of urgency and audacity and swagger to what they did. And we said, okay, let's see if we can pour that into Ask Nicely and see where that takes us.
Awesome. And what's been, I guess, some of the biggest wins that you've seen with Ask Nicely? Like, what's the feedback been like for you guys?
Well, feedback's a drug, right? There's nothing better than turning up in the morning and seeing comments from your customers saying, how much they love your product and and importantly, like how it makes them feel. Like our product, when used as intended, helps people on the front line like look good and feel good on a daily basis, and so they should. I think if we think back through to the pandemic, we all learned a new level of appreciation for frontline workers. These were the folks that were getting up and like literally risking their lives on a daily basis so that we could live life well. And so for me, it's incredibly rewarding to know that those people who historically have not received a lot of feedback, and if they did, it was probably negative, they now know that what they do really matters to the customers they serve and the people they work alongside with. So for me, it's just extremely rewarding to work on a product that actually makes some level of difference into the lives of what's today like hundreds of thousands of people around the world. So it's very, very humbling.
Awesome. I know I thrive on feedback as well. So that's awesome that you've created a tool for people to get immediate feedback on their service. How did you choose Portland? So you're in Portland, right? And then you've got another European office as well that you've just opened. How did you choose these places as your place to launch from?
Yeah, so we started in Auckland. So we have a team of engineers, product folks, and designers, also some marketing people, and in Takapuna, and we have our sales, customer success, finance, HR folks sitting up here in Portland, which is where I am at the moment. We also have an office in Salt Lake City and one in Amsterdam, serving our European customers. I think the first international office that we opened was Portland. So we were sitting in Auckland, and from day one we were marketing into the US. So we had American customers right from the get-go, even though we'd never been there. And when we had so many customers that we started doing actually quite a poor job of serving them from New Zealand, given the time zone, we knew that we needed to put some feet on the ground up here. And then we had the choice of like any state or city in the country to choose from. So we said, well, look, let's start on the West Coast because that's got good time zone overlap with New Zealand. Let's avoid the expensive places. So we scrapped San Francisco and Seattle, and we said, okay, where's a place where we can build a competitive advantage around culture? And Portland happens to be a place where people really get customer experience. If you've ever been here, they pour a level of love and craftsmanship into everything they do here in Portland. It's almost over the top. And I thought to myself, well, if we can recruit people that are of Portland into us nicely to front our customer experience, and that's going to feel authentic to our customers and give us a level of competitive advantage. So that was a big part of the decision. But almost just as important though is we wanted to be able to support a standard of living for our people that we were proud of as well. And we heard the stories of people living in San Francisco that were getting paid squillions, but then paying like ridiculous amounts of money to live in a studio apartment. And we thought, oh, I don't think we'd feel too proud of that if that was for our people. And here in Portland, you can buy a 3-bedroom house 15-20 minutes from the office, for like realistic amounts of money, like you're sort of half what you might find even in New Zealand. So that was important to us. And lastly, if you do ever come up to Portland, you will find that it is the most New Zealand-like city in all of the US. We have rivers, mountains, forests, and a level of niceness in the city which is unparalleled. Nobody beeps their horn, and if you stand on the side of the road and you look like you might want to cross sometime today, the cars will literally stop and they were like, oh, after you, So it's super nice. It's a super soft landing, and that means that we can sort of copy and paste the culture that we grew up in Aotearoa and make that consistent across our company. And we have folks from our US office come and visit New Zealand, like we did for the High Tech Awards last year, and we brought a whole bunch of Americans down. New Zealand feels familiar to them because it's we've managed to recreate that same feeling in both places.
That's amazing. You've really sold Portland to me, Aaron. I would have never known it had all of those beautiful characters. And I love that you started with what's going to be good for our people, which really speaks to the ahua of your business as well. The next part I have is around, I guess, extending on that whakaaro, which is how has being Māori or your Māoritanga helped you grow this business? How's it helped with your mahi?
Well, to be honest, when we started, because we're sitting in like this garden shed and we're trying to sell to Americans, we actually played down our culture, our New Zealandness. We put an American phone number. I mean, this is back in 2015, right? So we put an American phone number on our website. We spelt with American English, took out a few vowels, because we thought we needed to look and feel American to sell our product. What we found though is that when people discovered that we were Kiwis, and it's hard to hide that once they start talking to you. Where does that accent come from? We found that there's a real affection for New Zealand, particularly through the COVID period, where the New Zealand brand really found itself on the global stage. I learned that it was actually a real strength for us. Now, we've leaned into that now. And if you look on the Ask Nice You website, you'll see whakatauki, you'll see references to Māori culture there, which we're super proud of because we've ritualized them inside and internally inside our business. And now we've found the pride to put that externally and really advertise that. And I found that that's a point of difference for us. So that's really useful. I guess at a slightly deeper level, though, I feel like our heritage is an underutilized weapon for us as a country and as a sector. It's no secret that Māori are underrepresented in technology, but I also think we're underestimated as well. The underrepresented is easier to see. We've got 20% of kids leaving school that are Māori, but only 4% in technology. So that stands out. But underestimated as well, because we're a nation born of sailors. The job of a technology startup is to get out there and explore and invent the new. And that explorer gene is pre-built into our DNA. We're good at this. We've been doing this for hundreds of years. My view is that if we can really harness that and not be shy about it, we have an unfair advantage over the rest of the world if we can really lean into it and use it. So I'm excited by the potential that we have as Māori to really excel and succeed in technology and help put New Zealand into a leadership position globally.
That's awesome. We're underrepresented, but we're also underestimated. So it's time for us to really rep ourselves loudly. I love that. And I love that you embedded Māori culture within an American organization, How have your American colleagues found that? Have they clicked into it? They get it?
Oh, again, I was a little bit nervous about it when when we started doing it. I didn't know how this would be received, but it turns out that the American folk in our business really embrace it warmly. They see it as a point of difference, and they take something from the association with Māori culture personally. So that's super cool. The other thing is, we're building a global business. So, when I look at the team that we have, and we've got about 65 people in the business today, we represent all sorts of countries around the world. And most countries have a story about their Indigenous people. And I've been educated about the similarities which are striking across most Indigenous culture. And so I think that the way that we embrace tikanga in Aotearoa is something that stands out and something that's very attractive to people from all around the world. So I think that's another opportunity that we have to sort of be a guiding light of sorts.
Awesome. I'm excited to see that. I've got a partai here from Lee, and it's about what part NZTE has played in your journey to date. I know you've done two capital raises. So yeah, really interested to hear about the involvement that NZTE has had in your business journey?
We've done, I think we've done 4 or 5 capital raises over time. It's it's very easy to spend money and run out and then have to go back for a little bit more. Over the years, we've raised about 75 million New Zealand dollars into us nicely. So it's amazing the support that we've had along the way. And it's in particular, it's those early believers, when you've got 2 clowns sitting in a garden shed saying, oh yeah, I think I can build a global business. You would forgive people for saying, I'm not sure about that, but those early believers that backed us and said, let's give them a shot, are the ones that really, enabled us to get started. And I think NZT do a really good job connecting folks that, like we've never raised money before into those communities and, and driving that connection. And they've always been super eager to help. And so for us, we started, this is way back in 2015. The world is different now. I think there's many more options available to us, but we started by raising angel investment from some high net worth style characters, then raised from Blackbird, an Australian venture capital company. New Zealand, Aslancy was their first New Zealand investment. Then raised money from a US VC based in Silicon Valley, and then a private equity firm over here in Kansas City as well. So there's, the lily pads have sort of gotten a bit bigger along the way, but again, it's those early believers that made it all happen for us, made it all possible.
Awesome. 75 million is huge. That's so cool, and it is really showing Māori ki te ao what's possible. I've got a pātai from Renee here, which is, what have been your biggest challenges that no one warned you about or that you weren't expecting?
Well, yeah. Oh goodness. Well, there's so many. People say, "Oh, what's it like?" Working in a business like this. And for me, it's it's a mixture of excitement and terror, and every day. The only thing that changes is the mix. Some days are more exciting, some days are more terrifying, but that's just normal. And once you sort of accept that there's going to be a bit of excitement and a bit of terror in every day, then it just starts to feel normal. And so you just sort of continue on and don't stop. And I think that's one of the best pieces of advice that I've had. I actually had it in the High Tech Awards last year. Guy stood up and said, keep going, keep going, keep going. I think that's just all, sounds simple, but it's just awesome advice. Things that people didn't warn me about. Yeah, goodness, well, to me, it all feels that way, right? So when you're starting out, you're totally new at it. And so you're out there working things out, for the first time. And let's say you as a business, you graduate through certain phases. And as you go into the new phase, the lessons that you learned in the previous one don't work in the new one. So you're new there as well. I've felt new at every stage in the business. So my trick has always been to surround myself with people that can provide feedback and advice. People that have been there before and that can help shepherd and guide you. The worst place and the toughest place to be and the loneliest place to be is the guy that thinks that he can work it all out himself or has